Welcome back to Metropole TV, The Smart Investor. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. And I've got with me Stephen Kimani, who's actually the managing editor of Metropole and an old friend. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Stephen. Thank you. Stephen, you were just giving me a headline that it's been the day of resignations.
Definitely, I think it's just a day of major resignations. Of course, the biggest one being that of the UK Prime Minister.
Quite emotional, I found. I was watching her, and I saw when we were coming in, all the people in the TV studio were looking at that.
I mean, clearly, it was moving, and it was moving when she made the admission that she has not been able to deliver on Brexit, and termed that as really, something that she will regret, and it will be something that she will not be able to come out of very soon. But as we come closer home to Africa, we have also just had news of the resignation of the ESCOM, the ESCOM CEO. ESCOM is the equivalent of our Kenya Power here.
Yes, big challenges though at ESCOM, right? Lots of load shedding. But of course, Stephen, they're on a different level than we are in terms of the amount of electricity that economy consumes.
Yes.
But they've been complaining of load shedding for a while now, right?
Yes.
And huge debt load as well.
Yes, which the president-elect Ramaphosa...
Actually, that's tomorrow, right? That's another big thing. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, he's promised to... one of his big pledges is to reform ESCOM.
Yes.
And ensure that it delivers its mandate to the South African
But you know, Stephen, they've also got to fix that balance sheet, right? And it's a similar problem about which the other resignation that we had Old Mutual South Africa as well.
Old Mutual South Africa, although the reasons given seem to point to conflict of interest.
Yes.
In which I think the board was a bit uncomfortable with some of the dealings of the CEO, Mr. Moyo. But I think we'll watch in the coming days what sort of decision they're going to take.
Yeah.
And then come closer home.
Sebastian says,
I am shortening my stay at the helm of Kenya Airways, and I'll be out in December.
But you know, one sensed he hadn't been happy for a while. That was my impression from him, that you know that he'd really, I think they'd made a bet on that KAA merger as a way of shoring up the balance sheet, and then when that didn't work out, what's your takeaway from that? I mean, you know, firstly, it is a national interest issue. This is not a Mumias. Well, Mumias was important to Western, but Kenya Airways is critical to Kenya. I mean, if we want to play the game of being a gateway, we got to have that airline working really well, haven't we?
I mean, definitely, they say it's a pride of Africa.
Yes.
But really our national pride.
Yes.
To see an airline that is able to operate virtually across the continent and connecting to major destinations across the world. And of course, one of his biggest achievements has been the US Kenya direct flight, which in a sense took off with great fanfare, but somehow things didn't quite go according to plan initially.
I'm surprised at that, because one, the convenience of a direct flight if you're coming from North America. Secondly, you know, a lot of our tourists who don't go to the coast, they go up country to the lodges and stuff, high paying, are coming from that side. So I was taken aback because they reduced the frequency on that route pretty quickly, didn't they?
Yes. And I think pretty much the reality check set in and decided, well, I think we'll just go according to the demand.
Yes.
We'll go with the ebb and flow of how the US market operates. And really, the US market is key for us in terms of tourism. It's our number one source of tourists, and has been so for the
high value tourists.
Yes, and high value tourists.
The higher value,
Yes, for basically the last 3 years. So I think with Kenya Airways sort of slowing down on that, there's a bit of worry then what could be happening. But I'm also finding it interesting.
You came in here with the letter that
I'm also finding it interesting that in his letter to the KQ family, he has revealed that he is actually traveling to China.
Yes.
To work on the launch of I'm just quoting the launch of our direct Beijing flight.
Wow.
So that's another big market.
That's another big market.
It's another big market, and I think just coming hot on the heels of the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yes.
I think we wait in the coming days to see what exactly Kenya Airways is planning in terms of connection.
Yes.
With the
so far
market.
they were not flying to, but they were flying to Shanghai, were they? I wonder.
They've been doing a bit of Guangzhou, Shanghai.
But direct flights there?
But direct flights, no.
No,
I mean,
through Thailand or
yes,
something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that has also, I think KQ's connection to the Oriental region has also had its own fair share challenges. And in fact, one of the things he will do is a business review in Bangkok. So probably I think he's also taking time to take stock and see how exactly are we doing and what exactly can KQ exploit this growing market.
I was at dinner and he was at a dinner there, and he was saying, you know, we talk about it being a Kenyan airline, but he says really our key franchise is Africa.
Yes.
And then I suppose it's also the movement of Africans into China. I remember when you're at the airport, lots of West Africans using it.
Yes.
But you know, it's obviously there's much fiercer competition today.
Yes.
Rwanda, Ethiopia, all coming for their lunch. The big Middle Eastern airlines, and I heard that some of them are now uplifting passengers direct from Mombasa, likely to start doing that in Malindi. So I don't know whether we've defended our patch sufficiently for Kenya Airways. You know, should we have allowed these flights to go direct to Mombasa, or should we have forced people to land in Nairobi and use Kenya Airways? I don't know.
I think Nairobi will definitely remain a hub.
Yeah.
This is the host city for the UN
Yes.
in Africa, headquarters. It's probably rivaling Addis Ababa in terms
Yes.
of its stature as a
but I think Addis
center.
Ababa, if you look at the internet, Stephen, you can't be a hub if you can't even get your emails, man.
Well, that's a unique challenge on their end, and
Yes.
I think we have the upper hand on some of those
but
issues.
we can't afford to lose it.
But yes, and that's why KQ becomes a very important asset
Yes.
that really we need to look at. And I think it's sad that Sebastian has decided to sort of call it quits early.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see what sort of reaction also the government is going to take to this. Because
Yes.
I think my view, and you've more or less alluded to it, there might be a bit of a clash in thinking between government and himself, coming from an airline management point of view. But I think
it still needs, the balance sheet needs to be fixed.
Definitely.
Right? And you've got to get somehow or other, you've got to put equity on that balance sheet. You can't load it with more debt, I don't think.
yes, and I think the road ahead is still going to be tough. But I think let's wait and see what exactly he has in store.
Stephen, let's go back to Brexit. I can't forget when Theresa May visited Kenya, and she visited the UN,
Yes.
and she was dancing. And I thought good on her, because she always got teased for being a Maybot, as in a robot, right? So she was trying to show it's like Shakespeare, isn't it? You see that, then you see today when she's literally crying there and saying, I did my best, I couldn't do it. But you know, there's a bigger issue here than the emotions and the theatre of it.
Yes.
We are an ex-British colony. Today, if you go to the stock exchange, at least 40 to 45% of the market cap can be considered to be British, whether it's Vodafone, whether it's Diageo, EABL,
BAT.
whether it's Barclays, which is BAT, Standard Chartered. So companies which have understood our country, been here a long time, very successful companies. So sometimes when we look at trade, it doesn't reflect the level of investment that's in this country. It dwarfs the trade in many respects. In your opinion, what do you think? You know, we're looking at a world full of contagion right now, right? Yes. China, US, China. Now we're dumping Brexit on it. What do you think is the impact on Kenya in particular? I heard the High Commissioner, he said, look, we're committed to making sure that Kenya benefits from this. This whole idea of stimulating the Commonwealth, that Britain was ultimately a trading island nation, and if they unshackle themselves from Europe, they're going to go back to those go-go days of growth. What do you think of that, and what do you think of the situation here? Is there a risk of a contagion? Is there a risk of anything that in your mind?
I think the first reaction is it will appear now Britain and Brexit is in limbo. it's not quite clear whether really a deal will be reached at the end of it all, and I think that really creates a lot of challenges. First and foremost, to British businesses, because it means that whatever they have been enjoying within the realm of a common market will suddenly be lost.
Yes,
and
that's
and really those are huge. I mean, that has huge implications on business. But again, as you've said, the contagion effect probably will begin to be felt at some point, and maybe it may not be immediate. I think we still have another 5 months to weigh how this Brexit.
So let's wrap up by you telling us, according to you, what the timelines are, right? So, I mean, what happens next? I mean, the Conservatives, I'm sure, will have to have a lead election.
Yes. Yes. So really, from today's announcement, the next thing that actually has been ongoing this week is the results of the European Parliament.
Yes, where the Conservatives are going to come fifth.
Yes. So those
results. Nigel Farage was going to win.
Yes. So those results will begin to be seen from Sunday, actually.
Yes.
We'll begin to see those
results. So we'll have a better
in.
idea of the way the chips have fallen from that.
And already from what I'm seeing, and these are reports from the AFP, they're saying opinion polls are showing that the newly formed Brexit party is on course to win.
Wow.
So clearly, I mean, that just poses more problems.
It does.
On top of what the PM May has been facing. Then after that, the EU heads of state will be having a meeting in Brussels.
Yes.
Really just discussing the outcome of the elections.
But they've been interesting because Macron has been hard line, very hard line. Merkel has been like kind of saying, let's sort it out, sympathetic. But, you know, Boris is not popular over there with the Europeans, right? He's been bashing them for 30 years. He used to be a journalist and bash them every day.
Yes, and I think that's now the new uncertainty that the British people have to embrace. That now you have to decide who you want to lead the process going forward. Is it Nigel Farage?
Yes.
Is it Boris and his antics? I mean, it's now up to the Britons to decide how they want to move with regard to that. But also very interestingly, Trump will be visiting.
Yes, yes.
He'll be visiting.
And she'll remain Prime Minister for that visit.
Yes, that's on the 3rd of June. 3rd and 4th is when Trump is expected to have his 3-day visit. And, well, the visit will actually be symbolic.
Yes.
But symbolic with a hark back to the Second World War.
Yes, and that the special relationship that the US has always had with the UK. But I don't know how,
Yes, so the D-Day landings that happened 75 years ago, that would really be
is that the focus of
That's really the focus of the trip. But I think it will also be interesting to hear what Trump has to say about how Britain moves forward.
But he's been pro-Brexit. Farage got to see him before Theresa May.
I mean, he's really been at the...
This is his populist...
he's been at the nationalist.
Yes.
I mean, at the cusp of nationalism and, you know, let's do away with multilateralism.
If you look around the world today, the Modi was very similar politician, very nationalistic.
Yes.
I mean, it seems that the populists have become even more popular than they were before. And everyone said this was the high watermark, we'd passed it, but we haven't.
Well, Italy, notably,
is
also going in the same direction. So clearly, I think these are worrying times also for the EU. So I'm sure in that informal, in that informal dinner that the heads of state will be having,
they've got their own challenge.
A lot of these, I mean, they also have to do their own soul searching and really ask themselves, so how do we boost confidence in the European Union? And I think really it's just more uncertainty that we are seeing in the days ahead.
I think that's the new volatility that we've entered. Stephen, it's been a pleasure speaking with you again, and Stephen is my managing editor and producer and an old friend, and it really is a very erudite and does my headlines. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Ali.
This was Metropole TV, the first 24-hour business news channel here in Kenya. This was The Smart Investor, and I was Ali Khan Sachi. And with this, I wish you a tremendous weekend, and we'll take it up with you on Monday.